Hi everyone, welcome back. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to factor quadratic expressions when there is a common factor. Okay, so the quadratic expression that I have, let me write it out for you. So the first step when you have a quadratic expressions, and I know it's quadratic because it can be written, this expression can be written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. But this expression is not written in standard form. So the always the first step, remember, is to rewrite the expression in standard form. So let's rewrite it in standard form. So we wrote the expression in standard form. Okay. So the next step is when you need to train yourself is, can you identify a common factor, a number that 2, 12, and 14 is divisible by? Okay, so I see here the greatest common factor, or the number that is that each the no, the coefficient of x squared, which is 2, and the coefficient of 12 of x, which is 12, and the constant 14. All three are divisible by number. Okay, and that number is 2. Okay, why am I saying 2? Because I can rewrite 12 in terms of 2 as a factor of 2 as 2 times 6, so x, and then 14 can be written as 2 times 7. Okay, so you see that there is a common factor, a number being repeated in each term, or the number that each term is divisible by is 2. Okay, so you're going to pull out the common factor. So I'm going to pull it out outside. So you have 2 outside. And what am I going to write inside? The leftover. So x squared plus 6x and then minus 7. Okay. Or if you wanted, you could like use a 2x squared and divide it by 2, you get x squared. Okay. You'd have taken the 12x and divided by 2, you will get 6. Okay. And you do 6x, right? And then you do the negative 14 and you divide it by 2 and you get negative 7. And you match what you have here. Okay. So if you don't want a common factor, if you don't understand what I mean by common factor, use divisible by 2. So each term is divisible by 2. So now what you're going to do, you're going to ignore the factor of 2 and you're going to focus on this quadratic expression right here. Okay, x squared plus 6x minus 7. So what do you want to do next? You want to find two numbers that add to what? You're right, to b, the middle term, which is your positive 6. And you want to find again two numbers that multiply to what number? Again, it's going to be a times c. So the number for a here, the leading coefficient, the number in front of x squared, is not 0, but it's 1. So I'm going to do 1 times negative 7, which is negative 7. So I'm going to write negative 7 right here. Okay, so let's continue. So always start with a number for the a times c number, okay, which is negative 7. So you have to list out the factor of negative 7, okay, but add to 6. I can start with 1 and 7. So I know that 1 times 7 is positive 7, but I want negative. So one number must be negative, okay? So let me make the 7 negatives, okay? So 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. But when I add them up, I end up with negative 6. However, I want positive 6. So I know that the combination of number 1 and negative 7 do not work. But because it's negative 6, I want a positive. So I know the number is still going to be 1 and 7, but the sign needs to be, I need to change the sign. So the sum is positive, so I know that the bigger number needs to be positive. So the one needs to be negative. The lowest number needs to be negative. So when you add them up and end up with positive 6, check. Okay, so the two numbers that I'm going to use are going to be the number. So the two number here that will work is the number negative 1 and positive 7. Negative 1 and positive 7. Okay. Why? Negative 1 plus 7 is 6. Negative 1 times 7 is negative 7. So what are you going to do next? Okay, the next step is you want to rewrite. So I want to rewrite x squared plus 6x minus 7. Okay. by replacing the middle term with the two found numbers. Okay, so I'm going to replace the middle term with the two found numbers. But first, let me write x squared. Okay, then I'm going to write, oh sorry, you couldn't see, x squared first, and then you're going to write negative 1x. Okay, then plus 7. Make sure when you write the two numbers, you include the variable x. And the reason is negative 1x plus 7x add up to 6. Okay. You're just rewriting the quadratic expression in a way that is easier for us to factor. So now you bring down the negative 7. So you are out the four terms. Okay. So again, let me go back to what I've done earlier. The first step, we rewrote the quadratic expression in standard form. We pull out the number that each term is divisible by, which is 2. Okay. Then we focus on the quadratic expression within the parentheses. So you found two numbers that add to 6 and the same two numbers multiplied by negative 7. Okay. And you found the number negative 1 and positive 7. That we use to replace the middle term with. Okay. Then you can use a method by boxing or by grouping. Okay. So when you do the box method, the x square needs to always be right here, the top left square, and the negative 7, the constant always needs to be at the bottom, always true. Okay. Now, what needs to next is you can now write negative 1x right here and 7x. So those two terms does not matter. You could have switched it also. It will not change. So you can switch the order if you want. So you're going to pull out the greatest common factor for each rows. Or if you don't understand by what I mean by the greatest common factor, you want to pull out the number that is each term is divisible by. So x squared negative 1x is divisible by x, okay? And 7x and negative 7 are both divisible by 7. So now I'm going to focus on the column. X1 and 7x are both divisible by x. And then negative 1x and negative 7 are both divisible by not 7, okay? Because I don't have 7x here, negative 7x. So you have to be negative 1 because I have two negatives, so negative 1. So just for you to remember, okay, the x squared here, the x and x here cannot be negative. The x term can never be negative. Only the number can be negative, okay? So let's check our work. Okay, let's multiply. X times x is x squared. X times negative 1 is negative 1x. And then 7 times x, 7x. And 7 times negative 1, negative 7. Okay, which is correct. So check. Everything is correct. So the factor form is going to be x. 7 is positive, so plus 7 times x minus 1. Now, alert. So remember, we pull out the common factor at the beginning. Remember the common factor you pull out at the beginning? Okay, yeah. So you have to make sure that the common factor you pull out at the beginning is positive 2. So you have to remind ourselves to write positive 2 right here. So make sure you include the common factor when you're done factoring what the quadratic expression inside the parentheses. And that's your final factor form. Okay, we factor the complete factor form. So I'm going to show you the next method by grouping. Okay, for grouping, you want to group the left two terms together and the right two terms together. If a 7x were negative, you have to make sure you put the negative 7x inside the parentheses. Okay, so now you're going to pull out the greatest common factor on the left as well as on the right. So what I mean by greatest common factor, the number that each term is divisible by. And you see that for this one, they're both divisible by x. So I will end up with x minus 1. And you can check your work. X times x, x squared. X times negative 1, negative 1x. So let's continue to the next one. So each term is divisible by 7. So I can pull out 7 outside. The number that each term is divisible by. So I end up with x, okay, and minus 1. Why? Okay, because I divide each term by 7. Okay, 7x divided by 7 is x. Negative 7 divided by 7 is negative 1. So now, when you do by grouping, you have to notice that there must be a common factor on the left as well on the right. And the common factor here is x minus 1. So you're going to keep on factoring by pulling out the common factor, which is x minus 1. Okay, so you're pulling out. So what is going to be on the second factor? So here you're going to end up with x plus 7. Okay, where does the x plus 7 come from? So the leftover after pulling out the common factor, x minus 1. And that's the final factor form. But before, okay, I forgot to do something. Remember, when you have a common factor, always, always, always include the common factor that you pull out at the beginning, which is 2 times. Okay, so again, multiplication is commutative, so it doesn't matter the order of the factors with the variable x. But for the when you have a constant, a number like this, 2, 3, 4, negative, you always write it in front, never behind. Okay, so I hope this video was helpful to you. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.